Listen closely, because what you are feeling right now is not an accident. The stirring in your spirit, the quiet expectation mixed with weariness, the hope that refuses to die, even after disappointment has knocked on your door again and again, this moment has been appointed. God says it is all coming your way, not some of it, not a small portion, not the leftovers of someone else's blessing, but what was written for you before you ever took your first breath. God is speaking to hearts that have been stretched, to souls that have waited longer than they ever imagined, to people who have whispered prayers in the dark when no one else was listening. This is not a message for the casual listener. This is a declaration for those who are still standing after storms that should have broken them, for those who kept trusting God, even when the evidence seemed to argue otherwise. There are seasons when it feels like nothing is moving, when days blend into each other and prayer seems to echo back in silence. Yet silence is not absence. Stillness is not denial. God often works in ways that are hidden from human eyes, shaping outcomes long before they ever appear. When God says, it is all coming your way, God is not speaking in haste or exaggeration. God is speaking from a place of authority that time itself must obey. What God promises does not depend on human approval, economic conditions, or the opinions of critics. It depends on the unchanging will of God, and that will does not bend under pressure. Some of you have been told to lower your expectations, to be realistic, to accept less, because the world has convinced you that your season has passed. But God is not limited by age, background, failure, or delay. God is not intimidated by how long it has taken or how many times it looked impossible. The very fact that you are still here, still believing, still hoping, is evidence that God is not finished. God does not bring people this far to abandon them in the middle. What feels like waiting has been preparation. What feels like denial has been redirection. What feels like loss has been God removing what could not go where God is taking you. There is a divine order to how God releases blessings. God often prepares the person before releasing the promise. If everything had come earlier, it might have crushed you, distracted you, or pulled you away from the very purpose it was meant to serve. God knows the weight of what is coming, and God knows when you are strong enough to carry it without losing your soul. That is why the delay was mercy. That is why the closed doors were protection. That is why the disappointments did not destroy you, because God was guarding something greater. You may have questioned yourself, wondering if you missed it, if you made the wrong choice, if you waited too long. But God does not miss. God does not forget. God does not change plans because of temporary setbacks. What God has declared over your life stands firm even when your confidence shakes. There are things that God has set in motion that no human being can cancel. There are answers already moving toward you, even now, aligning in ways you cannot yet see. Heaven is not confused about your address. What God has assigned to you knows exactly where to find you. When God says, it is all coming your way, it includes restoration for what was taken, clarity for what confused you, peace for what disturbed your sleep, and strength for what drained you. God is not just concerned with visible success. God is concerned with the condition of your heart. God knows what you have endured quietly, the battles you fought without applause, the tears you wiped away before anyone noticed. God has seen the integrity you kept when compromise would have been easier. None of that has been wasted. God does not overlook faithfulness in hidden places. There are moments when it seems like others are moving ahead while you remain in the same place. But comparison blinds you to the unique path God has designed for you. God is not copying someone else's story and handing it to you. God is writing something specific, intentional, and purposeful. What is coming your way will fit you. It will align with who God has shaped you to be. It will not require you to become someone else or betray your values. God's blessings do not demand the sacrifice of your conscience. Some of you are carrying promises that feel too big for your current situation. You look around and wonder how something so great could ever come from where you are now. But God specializes in unexpected outcomes. God brings abundance out of scarcity, strength out of weakness, and direction out of confusion. God does not need ideal conditions to act. God creates conditions by speaking. When God says something is coming, circumstances begin to shift whether they resist or not. You may feel tired from believing for so long. Faith fatigue is real. Waiting can wear down even the strongest heart. But hear this clearly, your weariness does not cancel God's word. God is not offended by your honesty or your questions. God invites you to bring your doubts, your fears, your exhaustion. What God asks is that you do not let go. Even trembling faith is still faith. Even whispered hope still reaches heaven. There are blessings that come quietly, and there are blessings that arrive suddenly. Some things unfold step by step, and others break through all at once. God decides the timing, but God never forgets the promise. There will be moments when you look back and realize that what you thought was a setback was actually the turning point. God often hides the breakthrough inside the struggle so that when it arrives, no one can take the credit but God. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are not forgotten. God's timeline does not run on human clocks. What looks late to you is right on time to God. When the season shifts, it will shift quickly. When the door opens, it will open fully. When the answer comes, it will be undeniable. God does not tease with false hope. God fulfills what God declares. There are people who walked away when you needed them most. There are opportunities that disappear without explanation. There are prayers you prayed that seemed to go unanswered. But God was watching every moment. God was allowing certain things to leave because they could not accompany you into what is coming. Not everyone who starts with you is meant to finish with you. God removes what would hinder the future God has prepared. When God says it is all coming your way, it includes wisdom to handle it, humility to steward it, and discernment to protect it. God's blessings are not traps. They are tools. They are meant to bring life, not pride. They are meant to serve a purpose greater than personal comfort. God entrusts much to those who have learned to depend on God when they had little. There is a refining that happens in waiting. Patience is forged there. Character is tested there. Faith is strengthened there. You may not have enjoyed that season, but you will one day appreciate what it produced. God does not rush growth. What grows slowly often stands the longest. The depth of what is coming corresponds to the depth of what you have endured. Do not mistake resistance for rejection. Opposition often appears when something valuable is near. If nothing important were ahead, there would be no reason for the struggle. The pressure you have felt is not random. It is evidence that something significant is being formed. God allows resistance to reveal strength you did not know you had. There are doors that will open that you did not knock on. There are connections that will form without striving. There are solutions that will come without manipulation. When God moves in ways that cannot be manufactured. What is coming your way will not require you to beg, chase, or compromise. It will come with clarity and peace, not confusion and fear. You have learned to trust God when outcomes were uncertain. You have learned to stand when others sat down. You have learned to keep going when quitting seemed reasonable. Those lessons were not accidental. They were preparation. God does not waste pain. God transforms it into strength. God transforms into compassion. God transforms it into wisdom that will serve you and others. There will be a moment when what God has been doing in secret becomes visible. The quiet prayers will bear fruit. The private sacrifices will be honored. The faith that looked foolish to some will be proven faithful. God is not obligated to explain the process, but God always reveals the outcome. When it arrives, it will silence doubt. You may have been overlooked, underestimated, or misunderstood, but God sees accurately. God measures by the heart, not by appearances. God promotes in ways that surprise those who thought they knew your story. God's favor does not need permission. When God decides the time has come, nothing can stop it. Even now, shifts are happening. What was stagnant is beginning to move. What was blocked is loosening. What was delayed is aligning. You may not feel it yet, but faith does not depend on feeling. Faith rests on the certainty that God keeps promises. The unseen work is just as real as the visible result. Guard your heart in this season. Do not let bitterness take root because of how long it took. Do not let fear convince you that it is too good to be true. God does not mock hope. God honors it. Stay humble, stay expectant, stay grounded. What is coming your way will require both gratitude and responsibility. There will be moments when you realize that if things had worked out the way you wanted earlier, you would have missed what God is doing now. Perspective changes when the full picture is revealed. What once felt like loss will make sense. What once felt like delay will reveal its purpose. God is not finished writing your story. The chapter you are in now is not the conclusion. There are pages ahead filled with fulfillment, peace, and purpose. God says it is all coming your way, not because you earned it perfectly, but because God is faithful. Your role has been to trust, to endure, to keep believing when evidence was thin. Let your posture be readiness, not anxiety. Expectation, not desperation. Gratitude, not entitlement. What God brings will be sustained by the same faith that carried you through the weight. You will recognize the moment because it will resonate with peace rather than pressure. There's a divine consistency to God's character. What God has done before, God can do again. What God has promised, God will fulfill. The path may not have looked straight, but it has been guided. The detours did not derail the destination. Even now, your life is speaking a message to others who are watching quietly. Your endurance has been a testimony. Your faith has been a signal. When what is coming arrives, it will not only bless you, it will encourage others to trust God in their own waiting. There's a moment God brings every listener to, a quiet crossroads where belief moves from theory into surrender. It is the moment when God asks you to trust, not because you understand, but because you know who God is. Many want assurance before obedience, clarity before commitment, proof before praise. But God often releases clarity after trust, strength after surrender, and confirmation after obedience. What is coming your way is not unlocked by anxiety or force. It is unlocked by alignment. When your heart rests in God's authority, your future rests there too. God has been training you to listen more than you speak, to discern more than you react, to stand still when panic demanded motion. These were not accidental lessons. God was teaching you how to carry what is coming without being ruled by it. Blessings unmanaged can become burdens. Influence without grounding can become destruction. God cares too much about you to release abundance without stability. That is why God has been shaping your inner life before changing your outer circumstances. Some have mistaken God's patience for indifference. Others have mistaken delay for denial. But God's silence is often the space where deep trust is formed. God does not explain every step because explanation can become a substitute for faith. God invites you to walk, not to see the whole road. When what is coming finally arrives, you will realize that every unanswered question built the endurance required to receive it. There is a divine economy that governs how God moves. What you release in faith returns in wisdom. What you surrender in humility returns in authority. What you endure with integrity returns in peace. God is not reckless with rewards. God weighs the heart, tests the spirit, and refines the motive. When God says it is all coming your way, it includes the maturity to steward it without losing your soul. You have learned how to wait without growing bitter, how to hope without becoming entitled, how to pray without demanding control. Those are rare qualities in a hurried world. God has seen the restraint you practiced when revenge was tempting, the forgiveness you chose when resentment felt justified. These choices were seeds. Seeds grow in hidden places long before they break the surface. What is coming your way has roots deeper than you realize. There will be moments ahead when you are tempted to attribute the outcome to coincidence or timing. Resist that temptation. Acknowledge the hand of God in the details. God orchestrates meetings, aligns decisions, and opens paths with precision. What looks spontaneous is often the result of long preparation. God moves with intention, not impulse. The precision of what is coming will testify to the care with which it was prepared. Do not fear the responsibility that accompanies favor. God does not elevate to burden, God elevates to position. What is entrusted to you will come with wisdom proportionate to the assignment. God does not send you ahead of the provision. The same voice that called you forward will sustain you there. Trust the source, not the size of what is coming. There's also a warning woven into this promise. Do not rush ahead of God when momentum begins. Speed can mimic direction, but only God determines timing. Stay sensitive, stay teachable, stay anchored. Momentum without discernment can lead you off course. God's guidance does not disappear. When progress begins, it becomes even more essential. You will notice that your desires are changing. What once excited you no longer satisfies you. What once seemed important feels small. This shift is not loss, it is refinement. God is aligning your appetite with your assignment. What is coming your way requires a heart that values purpose over applause, substance over appearance. God is narrowing your focus so you can carry greater weight. There will be voices that try to define your future by your past. Do not engage them. God is the only authority qualified to name what you are becoming. History informs you, but it does not imprison you. God redeems time. God restores years. God transforms narratives. What is coming your way will not resemble what you left behind. You may feel an increasing tension between comfort and calling. Comfort invites you to settle. Calling invites you to rise. God often disturbs comfort to awaken purpose. If restlessness has visited you lately, it may be the sound of preparation. God is stirring you, not to exhaust you, but to position you. Movement is required before manifestation. There are resources being aligned that you cannot see yet. There are hearts being prepared to receive what you will carry. There are solutions being formed that will answer questions you have not yet been asked. God thinks generations ahead. What is coming your way may exceed your personal needs because it is meant to reach beyond you. God's blessings often arrive with impact that stretches further than expectation. Guard against the subtle fear of loss once things begin to improve. Fear tightens the grip. Trust opens the hand. God does not give to take away. God gives to multiply. What is sustained by trust grows. What is controlled by fear diminishes. Let gratitude become your posture, not anxiety. There will be a moment when the weight of waiting lifts and you realize that God has been faithful all along. That realization will not inflate you. It will humble you. Gratitude will deepen your reverence. Success will not distract you because you remember the silence that preceded it. Memory will keep you grounded. Stay attentive to the quiet instructions that come with clarity and peace. God's guidance often arrives gently, not dramatically. Loud fear demands attention. Quiet wisdom invites trust. Learn to recognize the difference. What is coming your way will require discernment more than force. When challenges arise, and they will, do not interpret them as evidence that something has gone wrong. Resistance often accompanies expansion. Growth stretches capacity. God does not remove every obstacle. God equips you to move through them. The same faith that carried you through waiting will carry you through responsibility. There's a sacred continuity between who you were in the waiting and who you will be in the receiving. Do not abandon the practices that sustained you. Keep the humility, keep the discipline, keep the dependence. What brought you here will keep you there. God's promises are not fragile. They do not shatter under scrutiny or pressure. They endure. When doubts surface, return to what you know about God's character. God is consistent. God is intentional. God is faithful. What God begins, God completes. Let your life become a quiet proclamation that trust in God is not misplaced. Let your peace speak louder than explanation. Let your integrity remain intact as influence grows. What is coming your way will not require you to announce it. It will be evident. Remain present. Do not live so focused on arrival that you miss preparation. God is still speaking. God is still shaping. God is still guiding. Each step matters. Each decision counts. You are not merely approaching a destination. You're becoming someone capable of sustaining it. Even now, the alignment continues. What has been delayed is moving. What has been withheld is being released. What has been promised is nearing fulfillment. God's word does not drift. It advances. And as you continue forward with steady faith and open hands, the reality of what God declared will unfold in ways that continue to confirm that the journey, the waiting, and the shaping were all part of a greater design that is still revealing itself. There is a deeper work God is doing beneath the surface, one that cannot be rushed and cannot be imitated. God is not merely delivering outcomes. God is forming understanding. When understanding settles in the heart, fear loses its voice. You begin to recognize that what is coming your way is not fragile, not temporary, not dependent on constant striving. God builds on foundations that last. What God establishes does not collapse under pressure because it is rooted in purpose, not impulse. Some have prayed only for change, but God has been answering with transformation. Change alters situations. Transformation alters perception. God knows that if perception is healed, circumstances eventually follow. That is why God has been renewing how you see yourself, how you see time, how you see struggle. You are no longer reacting as you once did. You are responding with patience, discernment, and restraint. These are signs that preparation is nearing completion. There are moments when God allows you to feel the weight of uncertainty, so you learn where your strength truly comes from. Certainty can create self-reliance, but uncertainty drives dependence. God desires a relationship anchored in trust, not transaction. What is coming your way will not replace God. It will deepen your reliance on God. That balance is essential. Anything that pulls you away from the source was never meant to stay. You may notice that certain distractions no longer hold power over you. Noise fades when purpose becomes clear. God has been narrowing your focus so you can recognize what truly matters. This narrowing is not limitation, it is clarity. With clarity comes direction. And with direction comes momentum that does not exhaust the soul. God's movement brings peace, even when it demands courage. There is a refining fire that does not destroy but purifies. God uses it to remove fear masked as caution, pride disguised as confidence, and doubt hidden behind logic. What remains is faith that does not waver with circumstances. That kind of faith carries authority, not because it is loud, but because it is rooted. What is coming your way requires that kind of grounding. Do not underestimate the power of consistency. God honors steady obedience more than dramatic declarations. Day by day trust builds capacity. Quiet discipline shapes resilience. God often works through the ordinary to accomplish the extraordinary. When the outcome arrives, it will appear sudden to others, but you will recognize it as the result of many faithful moments. There will be invitations ahead that test your values. Not every opportunity aligns with purpose. Discernment will matter more than speed. God's provision does not require compromise. If something demands you abandon integrity, it is not from God. What is coming your way will honor the principles that sustained you through waiting. God is also teaching you how to release control without losing responsibility. Control tightens the heart. Trust expands it. When you release outcomes into God's hands, clarity replaces anxiety. Decisions become lighter. Direction becomes clearer. What is coming your way will flow more freely when you stop trying to manage every detail. You are entering a season where reflection becomes wisdom rather than regret. Looking back no longer wounds, it informs. God has healed places you once avoided. Memory no longer defines you, it instructs you. This healing is necessary because what is coming your way will require wholeness, not hidden pain. There is an authority that comes from having endured without becoming hardened. Softness preserved through hardship is strength refined. God values that strength. It allows you to lead without dominating, to speak without wounding, to influence without controlling. What is coming your way will place you in spaces where character speaks louder than position. Expect moments of awe, quiet moments, when you realize how precisely things have aligned. Those moments will remind you that God was present in every delay, every redirection, every unanswered prayer. Gratitude will rise naturally, not because everything is perfect, but because perspective has matured. You will recognize the care embedded in the process. There will be times when God asks you to step forward before you feel fully ready. Readiness is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to trust despite it. God does not call the fearless. God forms courage in those who respond. What is coming your way may require bold steps, but never without guidance. You are also learning the difference between effort and striving. Effort partners with God, striving replaces God. Effort is focused and peaceful. Striving is frantic and draining. God invites you to move with intention, not desperation. What is coming your way will not be sustained by exhaustion, but by alignment. There is a generosity God is cultivating in you, not only with resources, but with understanding, patience, and compassion. You have learned what it feels like to wait, to hope, to endure. That experience equips you to extend grace to others without judgment. What is coming your way will carry responsibility beyond personal gain. Remain attentive to small confirmations. God often reassures quietly. A sense of peace, a timely word, a closed door that redirects you. These are signs of guidance. Do not overlook them. Sensitivity keeps you aligned. What is coming your way will unfold step by step, not all at once. There may be moments when you are tempted to measure progress by external markers. Resist that urge. Growth often happens internally long before it becomes visible. God measures differently. God looks at faithfulness, not speed, obedience, not applause. Trust God's measure. As the season shifts, protect your inner life. Success can be as demanding as struggle. Maintain the practices that kept you grounded. Silence when needed. Reflection when uncertain. Gratitude when abundance appears. These anchors keep perspective clear. You are not walking towards something random. You are walking towards something intentional, shaped by wisdom you did not yet possess when the journey began. God has been expanding your capacity quietly, steadily, faithfully. That expansion is necessary because what is coming your way carries weight, meaning, and purpose. Let expectation rise without pressure. Anticipation without anxiety is a sign of trust. God is not hurried. God is precise. When the moment arrives, it will fit. It will make sense. It will carry peace, even in its magnitude. Continue forward with steady faith. Do not retreat into fear or rush into impatience. God's timing remains perfect. The alignment continues. The preparation deepens. The promise advances. And as you remain attentive, grounded, and trusting, the unfolding of what God declared will continue to reveal itself with clarity, purpose, and a depth that confirms that every step has been guided, every moment has mattered, and everything that was spoken is steadily moving closer to fulfillment.